तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome to all of you for evening Bhagavatam class. Uh, this Tomorrow we will be celebrating Lord Balaram appearance day. So today I'll speak a little bit about Lord Balaram, and tomorrow also we'll speak something. So that if you know uh, about the tattva of Lord Balaram, then you can meditate on Lord Balaram. So, so this Lord Balaram teaches us this tattva of wonderful servitorship, right? Servitorship. So Prabhupada says that even though Krishna and Balaram identical, identical, except for there is only one difference between Krishna and Balaram, that is in color. So Krishna is blackish in color, Balaram is white in color. So Krishna wears yellow clothing, Balaram wears bluish clothing, bluish dhoti and all that. So otherwise, even though there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram except for the color, still Lord Balaram consider himself a servant of Krishna. So he takes great pride in being servant of Krishna. He becomes his dham, then his chit potency actually, and then he becomes his umbrella. He becomes his chapels, his all paraphernalia. In so many ways, Lord Balaram is serving Krishna. Ananta Krishna, Balaram's expansion only, Ananta Dev. So that's why he's also known as Sesha. So it is. From this we can understand. So that is why Lord Balaram's expansion only is Nityanandaram. Nityananda, uh, he is Nitya Ananda, because he is always in happy condition, blissful condition, because he is always serving Krishna. He's always serving Gauranga. So like that. So once Prabhupada asked, who is stronger, Balaram or Krishna? So everybody was thinking Balaram means the strongest, but Krishna said Krishna is the strongest. Then he laughed. They said, just see our deities. Even Balaram is also, is actually he's keeping his shoulders on Krishna and standing. So even Balaram is also dependent on Krishna. So like that. So Prabhupada says, in order to become free from material contamination, material desires, we need the mercy of Lord Balaram. So Prabhupada laughed because there is one verse in Upanishads, Naim Atma Balahinena Labhya. So it is said that without strength, you cannot get atma jnana. So Vivekananda, he opined that if you want to become knowledgeable in atma, you should do bodybuilding because he thought physical strength. So Prabhupada laughed and laughed. Then he said, so this is nonsense. Then elephant should become knowledgeable because elephant is very strong. But then Prabhupada opened. So here, Nayam Atma Balhinina Labdya means without the mercy of Lord Balaram, Lord Balaram, we cannot get the mercy of Krishna, right? So without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we cannot get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So without the mercy of Lord Balaram, we cannot get the mercy of Krishna. So Lord Balaram represents Guru Tattva, the spiritual master, the self-realized spiritual master represents Lord Balaram, Guru Tattva. So Here, so that is why it is mentioned here that Devakya Jatare Garbham Sheshakyam Dama Mamakam Tat Sannikrishya Rohinya Udare Sanniveshaya. Within the womb of Devaki is my partial plenary expansion known as Shankarshana or Sesha. Without difficulty, transfer him into the womb of Rohini. Right? So the first, Prabhupada writes, the first plenary expansion of Krishna is Baladeva, also known as Sesha. So the Sesha incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead supports the entire universe, and the eternal mother of this incarnation is Rohini, Mother Rohini. So because I am going into the womb, Devaki, so the Lord told Yogamaya, the Sesha incarnation has already gone there and made suitable arrangements so that I may live there. Now I should enter the womb of Rohini. He should enter. So this is a secret. Many people, even in ISKCON, many times I told this in my lectures. So even in ISKCON, they think that Devaki gave birth to six materialistic children. That is why her womb is become contaminated. So in order to purify the womb of Devaki, because Krishna is going to go there now, Balaram went to clean. This is a very offensive statement. Prabhupada says that Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. Even though Krishna enters this material world, but he is not contaminated by materialistic material existence, material world. In the same way, even though materialistic children have entered Devaki, Devaki being internal energy of Krishna, she is also not, her womb is not contaminated to uh, by the entry of this six sons of Marichi. So it is very offensive to think like that. So that is why we should understand tattva properly. So Rohini is the eternal mother of Lord Balaram. That's why he is known as Rohini Sutta. So actually, how is it possible that six materialist children could appear first in the womb of Devaki, who is the internal spiritual energy of the transcendental Lord. So, yeah, so Prabhupada gives, just as the material universes exist within the Supreme Lord, but do not contaminate the Lord. The six children could exist within the Devaki without contaminating her. So this is the conjunction of material and spiritual in Krishna's pastimes is there to illustrate the methodical nature of bhakti. So please, many times I have explained this. Again, I'm going to explain because we forget, right? We forget. This has to be very fresh in our memory all the time. That's why every year we should hear this. So the devotees hear this very carefully. The devotees perform sadhana bhakti in the form of hearing and chanting about Krishna. They do enjoy the six material sense objects, even though they are performing sadhana bhakti consisting of hearing and chanting. Still, they do enjoy the six material sense objects, which is a secondary effect of bhakti. At that time, the devotees cries out pitifully that, oh Krishna, because of this enjoyment, I will fall into this dark well of material existence. So this fear of material enjoyment and getting astray from Krishna consciousness, will kill the enthusiasm to enjoy material sense objects. So that is why Prabhupada says, we should have healthy fear. Prabhupada said, my only complaint is that my devotees, my disciples are not fearful enough of Maya, right? So Maya, like that. So when a devotee shows fear of material enjoyment, gradually the tendency to enjoy matter subsides. So then bhakti in the form of hearing and chanting, Krishna's pastimes, glorification of his qualities, and all will increase. Then it becomes very prominent. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archana Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So finally, Krishna himself, the ocean of all wonderful forms and qualities, appear within Krishna. So, bhakti is in Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness by nature, and it directly manifests the Lord. Shuddha Sattva, it is called Vishuddha Sattva. So the Bhaktir Chayanam Darshayati. So devotion makes the Lord reveal himself. Reveal himself. So that is why Marichi, the analogy is given by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Marichi is compared to the mind, right? And he can be considered, then Marichi's 6 children are the 6 objects of the senses: sound, touch, form, taste, smell, and mind, thought. So yesterday I have described all why. So 5 sense objects plus mind, like that. So thought, so since Devaki possesses the power to make the Lord appear, so, she can be considered the incarnation of bhakti, and Kamsa is considered incarnation of fear, right? So, out of fear of Kamsa, it is said. So, just as fear of the material world removes the sense objects of the senses, 6 objects of the senses, from the womb of bhakti, so Kamsa destroyed the 6 children. Kamsa, 6 children of Devaki, right? So, Krishna Prema, which is characterized by intense service to the Lord, necessarily appears in the womb of bhakti after the desire for sense objects is extinguished. So this is a secret. So this is here after the 6 senses, 6 sons of Marichi, they died because of Kamsa. Then Balaram appeared. So Balaram represents intense devotional service. Intense devotional service. Then when after Balaram appeared, then consequently, Balaram, after Balaram is transferred, then Krishna entered the womb of Devaki through the heart of Vasudeva. So this is a secret. So so Ananta, the personified form of service to the Lord, appeared as the 7th child of Devaki. So as Sri Krishna himself appears after Prema Bhakti appears, so Bhagavan himself appeared as the 8th child of Devaki after Sesha appeared. So this is the secret. This is the tattva of Lord Balaram, appearing in the womb of Devaki. So many times I have clarified this matter, that Devaki's womb is not contaminated by the birth of 6 sons of Marichi. Remember this. This later on, maybe day after tomorrow onwards, maybe day tomorrow, day tomorrow, we will latch on to Krishna's birth, pastimes of Krishna's birth. So that time I will explain more about that. So the Lord Balaram, you know, uh, appears. So this is the very interesting that so Balaram is knowledge potency, Sri Guru, Sri Guru Tattva, and a spiritual master represents Lord Balaram. So that is why we need to take shelter of Lord Balaram for our knowledge. So that is why we have to pray helplessly to Baladev to free us from all anarthas, from all anarthas, especially the ahankar, right? Ahankar. So many times I explained this, that the Lord is sitting in our heart, but we cannot see him because the demigods are praying that, my dear Lord, even though you are sitting in our heart, we cannot see you face to face, because all of us, because of ahankar, I think that I am God myself. That is why last snare of Maya is to become one with God. Prabhupada many times like that. So, so that is why we should pray to Lord Baladev to become free from ahankar, right? Lord Shiva himself worships Lord Shankarshana, right? So who is the in charge of false ego, right? False ego. So because this material world, compare, to we are sick people, dukale mashashvatam, and then temple is like a hospital. So the spiritual knowledge is distributed, and then medicine is harikatha and holy name. So devotees are like nurses, right? So like that. So Prabhupada saying that actually, so medicine, when we medicine, when we take medicine, actually, if we have more faith in the doctor and in the process, the medicine works. In the same way, if you take shelter of Lord Baladev and pray to him all the time, all the time. So that is why Srila Prabhupada said, I have established this Krishna Balaram temple, magnificent Krishna Balaram temple, because it is very, very difficult. In Vrindavan, there are so many Radha Krishna deities, temples are there. So Prabhupada said it is very, very difficult to get the mercy of Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Radha Shyam Sundar. So that is why I'm establishing this Krishna Balaram temple, because it is said that if you pray to only without the mercy of Lord Baladev, you cannot actually enter Vrindavan Dham and get the mercy of Radha Krishna. So that is why if you pray to Lord Baladev every properly, that is why in endless love, that Harivendra Swarup Prabhu wrote, previously I also mentioned, I also became a devotee because of that, maybe because anybody who keeps the picture of Krishna Balaram in one's house, he will become a devotee. Balaram, by the mercy of Lord Baladev, eventually. So because when I went to Vrindavan, I took photographs of Krishna Balaram, and the photographs were there in my house, maybe because of that. Like that. So this process will work, uh, if you pray to Lord Baladev, like that. So what is the significance of Baladev carrying a plow, plow? So what is the plow is used for? Plow is used for plowing the earth. If you see, if you see, go to Talasari, you see, it is used for the plowing, so that the Jameen becomes, the land becomes soft. Then um, you they put the seeds and all that. So in the same way, our heart is very hard, right? Very hard. So if you pray to Lord Baladev, he plows our heart, yeah, with his plow. Then he tilts our heart. Then mm, so that our heart becomes soft, uh, soft. That is why karshan, shankarshan means attraction. So Baladev's you know is uh, attracts, potency of the service, to attract the souls back. So that is sankarshan, right? So if you pray to Lord Baladev, he attracts us to the service of Krishna, right? So that is why Srila Prabhupada said, lust and anger are obstacles for making progress in Krishna consciousness. So once we get the knowledge, then the consciousness changes, right? Especially Bhagavad knowledge, right? So so like prisoner is there, judge is there, right? But going to the court, right? Uh, in the government vehicle, right? The government vehicle only. Both of them go to the government vehicle, to the court. But the difference is consciousness. You know, yeah. So the prisoner has criminal mentality. The judge is like that. So So this lust and anger, especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the greatest, the most powerful uh, obstacle in our life is kama, right? So this Pralambasur represents uh, lust, both grass and subtle, both grass and subtle. So um, there is a very beautiful description of Pralambasur Vadha in 10th Canto Bhagavatam. So there are many pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. Um, so the most significant leela is this killing of Pralambasur and then Dhenukashur, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained the each demon represents one anartha, right? One anartha in our heart. Dhenukasur represents greed. Dhenukasur represents greed. So like that. So this Pralambasur represents lust, duplicitous mentality, all these things like that. So when Krishna, while Krishna and Balaram, were thus enjoying in Vrindavan in the guise of ordinary covered boys, the summer season gradually appeared. You know, so usually the summer season is not very pleasing to the conditioned souls because it is very hot. But in Vrindavan, even though it is a summer season, the conditions of spring season only prevailed. Spring Vasant Rutu, Kusumanam, Rutunam Kusumakaraha, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter. So, of all the seasons, I am Vasanta Ritu. So this Vasanta Ritu, Vasanta Ras, they are very glorious like that. So because Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, was staying in Vrindavan, along with Balaram, summer manifested the qualities of spring. Such are the features of land of Vrindavana. That's why there's one very beautiful verse. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nikuramba Komale Madhureshwariya Vishesha Shalini Jayati Vrajarajanandane Nahi Chinta Kanika Abhyudayeti Naha. Vrindavan Dham is very soft due to the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and it is especially opulent due to conjugal love. The transcendental glories of the law, son of Nanda Maharaj, are exhibited here. Under the circumstances, not the least anxiety is awakened within us, like that. So, so the in Vrindavan, the loud sound of waterfalls, covered the cricket's noise, and the clusters of trees constantly moistened by spray from those waterfalls, beautified the entire area. So then the wind is wafting over the waves of the lakes and flowing rivers, carried away the pollen of many varieties of lotuses and water lilies, and then cooled the entire Vrindavan area. So thus the residents there did not suffer from the heat generated by the blazing summer sun and seasonal forest fires. Indeed, Vrindavan was abundant with fresh green grass. Right. So, so here Krishna and Balaram every day, like every day, they have entered Vrindavan forest. So flowers beautifully decorated the forest of Vrindavan, and many varieties of animals and birds filled it with the sound. So here, we see there are two Vrindavanas actually. Something Vrindavan Dham, external Vrindavan, is shown to the people who are not completely devoted, and there is another Vrindavan, internal Vrindavan, where so many wonderful. And one devotee when came and reported to Krishna Prabhupada when Prabhupada was there that your Krishna Balaram are very naughty, like that. Because that Ramandreti, it is called Ramandreti. Prabhupada, Krishna and Balaram, they enjoy their pastimes, pasturing pastimes in this place. That is why that place is called Ramandreti. And then Krishna Balaram, Prabhupada, that's why they say that Prabhupada established Krishna Balaram temple. So those who are doing intense bhajana, they can actually experience this wonderful nature of Vrindavan that is described in Bhagavatam. Otherwise, for external people, Maya Devi gives a very hard, place, very hot and very dry. Water is salty, and so many things are there like that. Like that. So then, intending to engage in pastimes, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accompanied by Lord Balaram and surrounded by all his covered boyfriends, they entered the forest of Vrindavan as he played his flute. So all the boys, as when Krishna enters the forest, they remove the makeup done by Mother Yashoda, and the then they decorate Krishna with the forest minerals, forest flowers, and all that. So they also decorating themselves, decorating themselves with the rarely grown, uh, newly grown leaves, along with the peacock feathers, garlands, clusters of flower birds, and colored minerals. Balarama, Krishna, and their covered friends danced, wrestled, and sang. Right. So, so as Krishna danced, some of the boys accompanied him by singing, and others by playing flutes, hand cymbals, and buffalo horns. While still others, you know, while still others, praised his dancing. Right? So then the demigods disguise themselves as the members of the cowherd community, and just as dramatic dancers praise another dance, worshipped Krishna and Balaram, who were also appearing as cowherd boys. So in this regard, Vishwanath Thakur says that Narad Muni, Shiva, and other demigods disguise themselves as coward boys, because if they come as demigods, these Gopa Balakas, they will start worshipping them. So that is why they disguise themselves as coward boys, and join the wonderful pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. So so they were playing many games that we played in our childhood, just like kabaddi, coco, blind, fold, and recognizing. So Krishna played gilli danda, and then this goti. Krishna was playing all those games like that. Then not only that, Krishna and Balaram played the, by whirling about, leaping, hurling, slapping and fighting. And sometimes Krishna and Balaram would pull their hair on the boys' heads, like that. So then, a tug of war, they would do tug of war, like that. Arm wrestling, it is called arm wrestling, right? It's called arm wrestling, and by making sounds with their palms, in their armpits, like we also used to do that. Sridhar Swami says that the locks of hair remaining on the sides of the head after the Chudakarma ceremony. So others say it means that hair tied in three braids, are the locks of hanging in front of the ears, like that. So while others were dancing, Krishna and Balaram would sometimes accompany them with song and instrumental music. Sometimes the two lords would praise the boys, saying, very good," like that. Then sometimes they play with bilwa and kumba fruits. Bilwa, like they play ball, like that time no plastic balls were there. Sometimes with a handful of amalaki fruits. At other times they would play the games of trying to touch one another, or trying to identify somebody while one is blindfolded. And sometimes they would imitate animals and birds. So this is how Krishna and Balaram they were performing. And then sometimes they would jump like frogs, and sometimes play various jokes, sometimes ride in swings, and sometimes imitate monarchs, like that. So in this way, so while Krishna and Balaram and their cowherd friends were thus tending the cows in that Vrindavan forest, the demon Pralamba entered their midst. He also disguised himself as a cowherd boy. Then he had assumed the form of with the intention of kidnapping Krishna and Balaram. He is very strong demon, right? So the demon Pralamba approached disguised with a desire to. So he assumed the form of a particular covered boy who, on that day, had remained home with duties to perform. So he's very clever. Otherwise, like that. But so since Lord Krishna is the supreme, you know, he immediately understood that the demon still the Lord pretended to accept the demon as a friend, while at the same time seriously considering how to kill him, like that. So Krishna, he knows all sports and games, then called together and the coward boys and spoke as so this day, hey coward boys, let us play now. We will divide ourselves into two even teams. So there is one team of Balaram, and then there is another team of Krishna. So whoever identifies are wrestling, defeated, and then they have to carry them on their shoulders, like that. So so the boys played various games involving carriers and passengers. So in these games the winners would climb up on the backs of the losers who would have to carry them. So then Krishna and Balaram, so purposefully he immediately understood, Pralambasur, he immediately understood that Krishna is more stronger and more powerful. So that is why he was afraid. Then that is why he joined um, the team of Krishna. Then who were defeated, and then he said, "Okay, I will carry Balaram. I will carry Balaram," like that. So he then he was carrying him. So he was trying to carry him into the heaven, into the skies. So immediately, as the as the the great demon Pralambasur carried Balaram, the Lord became as heavy as massive Mount Sumeru, and Pralamba had to slow down. So he then resumed his actual form, an effulgent body that was covered with golden ornaments, and that resembled a cloud of flashing with lightning, like that. Actually, uh, Krishna was, actually, he was warning Balaram because Balaram is so absorbed in his covered pastimes that he little bit forgot. So when Balaram showed fear of the demon, Krishna, who wanted to see some fun, injected knowledge of his godly powers into Balaram. So thus Balaram remembered, his lordship in the Vishnu Purana. Krishna helps Balaram recollect his powers by saying, "O soul of all, secret of all secrets, why are you acting like a human now?" Like that. So the words can like that. So the demon was kidnapping Balaram by flying into the heavens, as if stealing some wealth. So Balaram's powerful fist cracked the demon's head, just like Indra's thunderbolt smashes a mountain peak into pieces. Thus smashed by Balarama's fist, Pralamba's head had immediately cracked open. The demon vomited blood from his mouth and lost all consciousness. And then with a great noise he fell lifeless on the ground, so like a mountain devastated by Indra. So so then the cowboys were astonished to see all these wonderful pastimes. Then they offered profuse benedictions, and then glorified him who deserves all glorification. So their minds overwhelmed with ecstatic love, they embraced him as if he had come back from the dead. So this is the um, first time of Balaram killing, like that. So this Pralamba represents duplicitous behavior, right? So Pralambar, like devotees, sometimes, sadhakas, we have this problem, exhibiting to be a very great devotee outside, but inside the heart, harboring subtle sex desires, like that, and then duplicitous behavior, kutinati. Prabhupada says this duplicitous behavior cannot help the even when make anybody happy, even in this material world. How can it make the soul happy? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada right. So here, Pralambasur, he entered the Krishna Balaram camp, as a coward boy, pretending to, he seemed to be doing seva, but intent is something else. That is called duplicitous behavior. So that's why Prabhupada said many people, they join ISKCON, but their intentions are something else. We come to know after that, right? So that is why Srila Prabhupada makes this second point. Main factor is mind. So therefore, we maintain duplicity, right? So so this mind is like a restless child. He will do exactly opposite. What we tell him. So to be free from this unlawful desires, so we should stop making plans. We should stop making plans like that. So when we want the mind to be to do something, then accepting the shelter of the spiritual master, we should accept the shelter of the spiritual master. And two things one must do. One is upeksha, right? Upeksha, disobey the mind. Then number two is obey spiritual master. Obey spiritual master, like that. So once Srila Prabhupada, he was preaching, then somebody asked, can we chant mentally? Prabhupada said, can you eat mentally? So if you can eat mentally, then you can chant mentally, like that. So so that is why to be to become free from unlawful desires, one should stop making plans. Plan making business. Prabhupada writes in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We should stop this plan making business, right? So, in order to avoid this plan making, if you pray to Lord Baladev, we should pray to Lord Baladev, to kill our duplicitous mentality, because Pralambasur represents this duplicitous mentality, especially subtle sex desire, lust, like that. Okay, thank you very much. Tomorrow we will hear more. I think morning Bhagavatam class also will be on Balaram pastimes. Today I spoke on glories of Girirajji, so you can hear many new things I spoke which you have not heard before. Okay, Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?